right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and kick this off, and you should be able to see the screen I shared with a blue offsite data sync slide. And again, if everyone can just go on mute and utilize the chat window for any questions or feedback, that will be monitored by Seaway Dodge from our team, and she'll either answer your question directly via the chat window, or she'll relay that question to me to speak to out loud. And really appreciate everyone joining today. Thank you for the time. Again, this is Charlie Marone with Offsite Data Sync. We at Offsite Data Sync are a Platinum Veeam Cloud service provider who is also a Veeam accredited service provider. And we offer our solutions available for resale through Ingram Micro. So if a partner agreement is signed with our team, it would enable you to have the ability to resell our Veeam Cloud solutions to any of your new and existing clients that you're working with today who may be moving to Veeam or on Veeam today for local backups and or replicas. And really the goal for today is to give you a real high-level overview of who we are at Offsite Data Sync and the three core solutions we provide in the Veeam Cloud space. And you'll all receive a recording of this webinar in the next day or two. And you'll also receive some information, some data sheets, and then a request via email to confirm a partner assessment call. And if that's of interest to any of you, we'd love to connect with you one-on-one with your organization, discuss the partner program and how we can work together through Ingram Micro to increase revenue and profit with the Veeam Cloud offerings that we have available today. At a very high level, two-time Veeam Growth Partner of the Year, 2 of the last 3 years winning that award. And just this year, we won the Veeam Innovation Award, specifically for our Veeam Cloud Backup for Office 365 solution. And I wanted to quickly review the 3 core products and offerings that we leverage today in the Veeam space. And that's our Veeam Cloud Connect Backup solution, our Veeam Cloud Connect Replication solution, and the Veeam Cloud Backup for Office 365. A little bit about Offsite Data Sync. There are thousands of Veeam Cloud service providers on the market today, but there's some key differentiators that really make what we go to market with different than most providers you'll see on the market. First off is the fact that Veeam Cloud solutions are by far and away our core competency. It's what we do best, and it's our primary focus. So we're about a mile deep in the Veeam Cloud space. We work very closely with Veeam. Every time they're releasing a new product, offering, update, or capability, we're always working with them closely on how we can tailor that to upgrade and enhance our cloud solutions. And that partnership really goes a long way. Many Veeam Cloud service providers on the market, it's one of a number of catalog products and platforms that they work with. So the level of expertise they have within the Veeam space can be somewhat limited. We're one of the largest cloud providers in North America. We protect tens of thousands of VMs and physical servers with these offerings. And probably the biggest differentiator is our ability to adhere to variants of security and compliance initiatives. We work with a number of Veeam resellers who have a lot of clients, for example, in the healthcare and financial verticals, where the data resides, the hardware it resides on, and the compliance aspect is key. I would say 9 times out of 10, we have the SOC reports and or HIPAA documentation that most clients in those arenas would require. And again, most often we have exactly what they need as far as documentation. And another reason for being able to achieve those various compliance components is in large part due to the data centers that we partner with. We have a global data center presence, so we can address backup and DR initiatives with a client in the US, in the EU, in the Asia Pacific. But furthermore, we partner with the Switch SuperNAP data centers. And Switch is quite literally the safest data centers commercially available at this time on the market. They have the only Tier 4 Gold carrier neutral data center rating awarded by the Uptime Institute. And if you and your team are ever headed to Las Vegas, Nevada, either for vacationing purposes or for any trade shows, tech conferences, let us know. We'd be more than happy to set you up with a Switch SuperNAP data center tour in their Las Vegas facility. It's definitely worth going to see at least once. So that data center partnership helps us meet SOC, PCI, and a number of other compliance factors. We're also one of the only Veeam cloud service providers who's also a Veeam accredited service provider, and that means that Veeam engages with us to address Veeam clients in various professional services engagements, primarily tied to Veeam Availability Orchestrator and a number of other Veeam deployments and installs. We have the expertise in hand. And another thing to consider is the fact that we have 2 Veeam Vanguards on staff. There's only about 60 to 80 of those in the country. 2 of them are employed by us. Being a Veeam Vanguard essentially means that you're a very detailed expert in the Veeam offerings and the capabilities there. A lot of experience with that platform in particular. And the global data center presence is also key, especially with some of the enterprise level clients that you may be working with or targeting to work with. So those are some differentiators that kind of separate us from the pack in regards to many of the other VCSPs on the market today. And here you're going to see an image of the Switch SuperNAP facility, which we touched on briefly. I refer to it as the Disneyland of data centers. So again, if you know you're going to be in Las Vegas in the coming weeks or months, definitely let us know. We'd love to help set you up with a tour there to go see the Switch facility. This is another image of the Switch facility. This is their Grand Rapids, Michigan data center, which houses a number of our clients' data. It's their pyramid facility. They also do tours there as well. So if you know you're going to be in Michigan, again, give us a shout there. Now we're going to touch on the 3 primary solutions that we and our partners leverage for cloud backup initiatives, disaster recovery as a service initiatives, as well as protecting Office 365 environments. And the first one we're going to touch on is Veeam Cloud Connect Backup. That's our backup as a service offering. Both our backup and replication services, the pricing is very simple. It's based on a per terabyte per month repository size required to house the backups. So essentially, we work with our partners during the sales cycle to understand the number of servers and the size of those servers that your clients are looking to protect. And then we look at their retention schedule as well as any possible changes to the environment that are being forecasted. And that way we can right-size a repository that's going to meet their needs today without paying for a repository that they have to quote-unquote grow into over time. Another benefit with this model is that all of our repositories are scalable. You can start small and increase storage as needed, when needed, throughout the service term. Repositories start at 1 terabyte and go up in terabyte increments. Another solid differentiator is that we have multiple suites of service for both backup and replication. Today with backup, we have 4 different suites of service, and the primary reason for that is client A who needs a backup solution, their SLAs and the features they require can be vastly different from client B. For example, certain backup solutions, various clients will require annual testing capabilities with documentation associated with that testing to simulate a failover or DR scenario. So we have different premium suites of backup that come with annual testing engagements with our team, as well as a ransomware protection feature added on to that backup repository. And then we have more standard suites of backup at a lower price point for any of those clients who are simply just looking to get a third copy off-site, not necessarily looking for all the bells and whistles or aggressive SLAs. So we have a number of different suites. That way we can have a custom best fit offering for virtually any client on the market, depending on what they're looking to accomplish. We've also got failover capabilities in the event of a DR scenario for all of our backup solutions. So even our most basic suite of Veeam Cloud Connect Backup gives the end user the ability to fail over and run in our infrastructure out of our data centers in a DR scenario. So many of our clients use the backup solution as a 2-in-1 backup/DR offering. And furthermore, we have archival storage capabilities with these backup repositories that allow the end user, if they have, for example, lengthy retention requirements where they have to house data for 7 years or longer in the cloud, we have archival storage repositories we can tie on to the back of this Veeam backup repo that allows them, based on the retention schedule they create in their Veeam console, it allows older data sets to be sent from this repository to an archive repository at a much lower per terabyte rate. So therefore, the job you completed a year ago, it's still being protected in the cloud, just at a lower price point than the backup copy job that they completed last night. And it gives it a more cost-effective solution, allows you to tier out your data sets and address any long-term data archiving initiatives. So that's a really high-level overview of the Veeam Cloud Connect backup solution. And some common questions that we find helpful to identify opportunities are asking clients, what are they doing to meet 321 best practices? Do they have a third copy, over 100 or so miles away from production that they can fail over and restore from? Do they test that regularly? How long does that process take? And a good conversation starter is, in the event of a DR or ransomware attack, which copy do you restore from? How often do you test that? And what happens if production data is unavailable? Those are all good conversation starters to identify potential opportunities for Veeam Cloud Connect backup solutions. Looking at Veeam Cloud Connect replication now, this is what we call our disaster recovery as a service offering with the Veeam platform. And instead of sending backup copy jobs to a cloud repository, you're sending replicas. And replication is designed to achieve aggressive recovery time and point objectives. So RTOs and RPOs for backup in the event of a disaster can range anywhere from 4 to 24 hours. And that's a large gap due to the fact that it's a manual restore process on the back end to turn those machines on in our infrastructure and get the end users connected to that and operating out of our environment. With replication, they're sending us replicas. It's that hot site, near instant failover capability. And they would create pre-configured failover plans in their Veeam console where they stack applications and VMs in a priority level order. That way, if something were to occur locally to one server or all of the servers in the environment, they could simply one-click and enable a partial or full site failover. Another thing that we commonly see when we go to market with these offerings is that clients will leverage what we call a hybrid solution, where they'll tell us we have 25 virtual machines. 15 of those are less critical to the business. If we were without those VMs for 12 to 24 hours, it would be okay. Whereas our 10 most mission critical servers, if we don't have those within an hour, it's really going to disrupt workflow and impact the bottom line and revenue for that organization. That's a perfect scenario where you would take those 10 mission critical servers and use that with Veeam Cloud Connect replication. So if anything were to occur locally, you can recover those machines quickly. And then everything else that's deemed less mission critical, you can send with backup copy jobs with Veeam Cloud Connect backup. So it's not always an either or with backup and replication. It can be a hybrid where you combine the two. And the biggest difference with the two offerings is that RTO and RPO that they would be looking to achieve in a DR scenario. Replication is going to be 1 hour or less, and in most cases, right around that 15-minute window. Veeam Cloud Connect backup, somewhere in that 4 to 24-hour range, depending on the amount of data, as well as who else is declaring a disaster that day and looking to fail over with their backups. And again, similar to the backup solution, there's 3 different suites of service with replication, so they can be tailored for each client. If a client's looking for all of the testing and bells and whistles and SLAs, they can go for a premium offering. If they're just looking to have those aggressive RTPOs without much else, they can go for one of our standard suites of replication at a lower price point, but it's designed to be tailored for just about anybody on the market today. That's a high level of our replication solution. You'll see on this slide a really simple question are, do you have any servers that, if unavailable, cause the business to lose money or really disrupt and or halt workflow? That's a great conversation starter. And then again, drilling down on the recovery time and point objectives that end user has for various machines will help identify if it's a better fit for replication in comparison to backup. And another differentiator that I failed to mention for both Veeam Cloud Connect Backup and Replication is that the Hypervisor agnostic. And really to drill down on that, most cloud providers on the market, they can take replication jobs or backup copy jobs to a cloud repository, but in a DR or failover scenario, they can only fail you over if you're on a VMware hypervisor to a VMware instance within that DR data center. A few years ago, we decided that we wanted to be able to have failover capabilities for both Hyper-V and VMware, and we also have a few data centers that can address failovers for the Nutanix and Acropolis hypervisor as well. So if you have clients that are on Hyper-V, that's another strong differentiator between us and many other providers on the market. And now we'll jump into our newest Veeam Cloud Backup offering, and that's the Backup for Office 365. And essentially, a little over a year ago, Veeam released their Veeam Backup for Office 365 software licenses. And we saw a great opportunity to take those licenses and turn that into a cloud-to-cloud solution. Initially, when Veeam released and rolled out the VBO 365 solution, we saw end users struggling with the concept of moving to Office 365 and essentially migrating Exchange to be in the cloud, to then only be told to back that up on-prem. It's counterintuitive. If you got out of the Exchange business, you likely are not looking to get into the backup for Exchange business. So what we did was we combined the VBO 365 licenses to an API and a cloud portal we created, and we turned it into a cloud-to-cloud solution where nothing is backed up on-prem, and essentially the clients are given access to a cloud portal where they can go and create and edit backup jobs of their Office 365 environment. They can also perform restores from Exchange, SharePoint, or OneDrive, all within that cloud portal. And it gives you that cloud-to-cloud offering. It includes protection for both SharePoint and OneDrive. Also, it gives you unlimited cloud storage and unlimited retention. There's a number of different retention settings, so you can have different backup jobs with different retention schedules. But it's all on one line item, on one invoice. The licenses, the cloud storage, the retention, SharePoint and OneDrive. It's very easy to go to market with that, and the pricing is very competitive. It starts at around $3 per month per mailbox, and that would be MSRP pricing. And that per mailbox per month cost goes down as you increase in the hundreds of thousands of mailboxes. So the pricing is very competitive. It's very easy to digest and understand. There's not several line items and features and options. It's an all-encompassing, all-in-one offering, and it's something that we've seen a tremendous amount of success with. Primarily, the biggest objection that we see in these sales cycles is just educating the client on the need to protect their Office 365 environment. As I'm sure some of you are all aware, at some point you've had that conversation and they said, it's in the cloud, why do I need to back it up? So we have some great material, data sheets and white papers speaking to the need and where Microsoft kind of draws the line as far as backup and recoverability, and that they mostly focus on giving you some archiving and retention options, but the responsibility of protecting and backing up that data does fall on the end user. They're just providing the infrastructure for that data. So we can help with co-branding marketing material and educating your client base on the need to protect their Office 365 environment with a backup solution. And again, it's based on the number, pricing is only based on the number of users or mailboxes looking to protect, not based on the data footprint, the retention schedule, or anything like that. It's solely based on the number of mailboxes, and it includes the licenses, the cloud portal, and unlimited cloud storage. And that's something that we see the sales cycles for are substantially shorter in comparison to Veeam Cloud Connect Backup and Replication. There's just less factors overall, and it's a really tailored product. Another thing to note is with all of these solutions, we offer trial repositories for any of your end users who want to test the solution with both of our teams. And furthermore, if you move forward with a partner agreement with us, engage with us on a partnership, we can also provide your team demo accounts and environments for each of these solutions, so that anytime you're talking to one of your clients, and you identify a potential opportunity, you have the ability to spin up a demo right there on the spot and show them that functionality. So we're more than happy to work with you and your teams to help really develop a true solid partnership and really enable your team to be able to identify opportunities and move forward with those in a really smooth manner. And you'll see here, this is something that we pulled from Microsoft, and it's really that the data protection of your data with Office 365 and in Microsoft in general, they support the infrastructure and the hardware. The data itself and what you're looking to accomplish in that environment is solely on the client's responsibility. So that shared responsibility matrix it's a really good tool to help educate the end user on the need and the importance to take ownership of that data and ensure that it's being protected for their business continuity initiatives. So that's a really high-level overview of who we are at Offsite Data Sync and the three primary Veeam Cloud solutions that we leverage. At this time, if you'd like to go off mute, I don't see any questions in the chat window, so feel free to shout out any questions or feedback. And again, we'll be following up with each of you who attended via email with a recording of this webinar and some data sheets. And if there's any interest in a discussion, a virtual meeting, let us know. We'd be more than happy to set that up in the coming weeks. And again, thank you all for attending. Really appreciate the time. If you got any questions, we're ready.
What do you guys do to protect customers and their data from hackers compromising data on the Veeam backup servers?
That's a great question. So the first step is to have that third copy offsite. And with our Veeam Cloud Connect backup solution, something that we really try to emphasize is the end user enabling our ransomware protection feature. And how that works is when a backup copy job is sent to the cloud repository, it's stored there, and anything that gets changed, removed, or deleted from that repository is automatically sent to this ransomware recycle bin feature, and it can be housed for anywhere from 15 to 90 days. That way, if a ransomware attacker or malicious attacker of some type breaches the environment of an end user and they attack the backups and or backup copy jobs first, and that's what we're seeing of late is that a hacker is going to attack the backups first because they know that's what you're going to resort to and fall back to. So if they encrypt or delete all of the data that's being backed up locally and to the cloud with the Veeam console, if you have this ransomware recycle bin, you can call our team. That will never show up in that Veeam console. No one from your team or the end user's team would ever see nor have access to this recycle bin. It's totally offline and air-gapped. And so if you believe your backups, thus your backup copy jobs, have been corrupted, encrypted, or deleted, you can call our team and notify us of the possible corruption, and we can provide you anything that's been changed, removed, or deleted within the last 15 to 90 days as a possible workaround. So that's one factor. And then if you were ever interested in a quick call with one of our senior solution architects, they can go much deeper than I can on a granular level in providing you more detail on various ways to implement this solution to optimize protection against malicious attacks. Does that help?
Yep, that was good. Is the answer the same whether the customer's using replicas or backup copy jobs?
Yeah, so with replication, it's a little bit different, but that's something that I'd like to engage with a solution architect a little bit further, because it's not really a cut and dry answer like, yeah, there's a feature here that's going to mute any malicious attack, but there's ways to implement the offering and configure it accordingly to really mitigate as much of that risk as possible.
Okay, good.
Great question, though. I appreciate that. Any other questions or feedback? Check the chat window once more.
So you guys put an appliance on site at the customer site, right? A server.
And the answer is no. So most of the partners we work with are Veeam resellers. So they would sell the Veeam license to their end users, and essentially they would help them and hopefully have a sales opportunity to identify a local storage target. So if the end user didn't have, but Veeam works with a number of different hardware providers, and they would help you configure that based on which appliance the end user would like to move forward with. But no, our solution is just a cloud repository to house the backup copy jobs or replicas, so no hardware required.
Okay, gotcha. They would probably get that on their own. Okay.
Yeah. So they would either repurpose something or they would purchase that from you, and that would be your sale. And once they're doing local backups or replicas to that target with the Veeam platform, then you would engage with us, and we would help throughout that sales cycle to identify a best fit Veeam Cloud solution to complete the 3-2-1 best practice rule for data protection.
Not to monopolize the conversation, but if a customer has a hacker involved in at their site, do you ever send the data back to them, like C to USB drive, that kind of thing?
Yeah, great question. So we use a C drive service oftentimes to start service, specifically with larger environments. So instead of trying to seed 20 terabytes over the WAN at the start of service, we'll ship a secure drive with instructions on how to seed the data, and that'll handle the initial data transfer so that they're just sending the deltas or the incrementals from that point. And then we can do the same thing in the event of a disaster. There are certain times where customers say, we just want you to put the data from our repository on a hard drive and overnight that to us instead of failing over into our infrastructure. So yes, we can absolutely do that, and it's something that we commonly utilize.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so I do see a question in the chat window. Can you spin up a virtual copy of our backed up server in your environment? Is this done through your support or the portal? That's a great question. So if a company has Veeam Cloud Connect Backup or Veeam Cloud Connect Replication with us, we do have the ability to spin those VMs up into our infrastructure. With Replication, you can simply enable one of your pre-configured failover plans locally, and that'll initiate and turn those replicas on in our infrastructure. If you didn't have access to your Veeam console to enable those failover plans, you could call our support hotline, and they can provide you a separate portal from our cloud portal to enable this, or we can enable it on your behalf. And with a backup repository, in the event of a DR scenario, you would call our team and declare a disaster, and at which point you can choose to either have the data seeded overnight, seeded on a drive and overnight delivered to you, or we can manually restore those VMs to your infrastructure, work with your team on the best connectivity and preferred connectivity method for you and your users, and have you run out of our infrastructure. Great question, though. Glad that helped. Any other questions? Okay, well, everyone, I really appreciate the time. And again, you'll see an email from Seaway Dodge in the next day or two with the webinar recording and some other content. And if you'd like to schedule an assessment call before then, my email address is cmorone@offsitedatasync.com, and you can see that on the calendar invite for today's meeting. Feel free to reach out here and happy to help. And again, I really appreciate the time and the great questions. So appreciate the time. Have a great rest of the week, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.
If you can spot this one.